point is, we can have the sexiest, most interesting slogan, but if it cannot be associated with the business, you actually have a problem. So branding is critically important. The second point before we start is to ensure that we give effect to the goal of people and culture, and the point made yesterday of at RU, you are valued. Would like to wish a special person this morning happy birthday. It is Alan's birthday this morning. The question is, how old are you? Old enough. As the university attorney, I was given permission to identify the individual who's going to sing happy birthday to Alan this morning. Only jokes. Right, so coming back to business, leading an institution is incredibly interesting, yet also quite challenging. And when we're thinking of leading an organization or institution, the term leadership of then represents the task of the top leadership. Now, if we think of who is responsible for the leadership of Rhodes University, it's ultimately council. But that responsibility is then delegated down to the DVCs and ultimately to the Vice-Chancellor. So we have been fortunate enough over the last couple of days to provide input to the leadership of Rhodes University with regards to where is Rhodes University needing to be and where does it need to be taken to over the next 5 years or so. Now, mission provides us with some or other indication of the business that we are in. And I think if I were to ask you what business are we in, that would be quite clear. Vision gives us the light into the future. It is the beacon to which we strive. And in order to make progress in our striving towards that beacon, we set ourselves a number of goals and a number of objectives. Those are the targets or the things we need to achieve on our journey towards our vision. But a vision is something which shouldn't be achieved, because as soon as you achieve your vision, your reason for existence falls away. So it's something towards which we continuously strive, and it's something which is incredibly exciting. And often we have an understanding of our vision in the form of a slogan. So if I think of our slogan, where leaders learn, I immediately associate that with Rhodes University. Unlike Keep It Flowing, I don't know where to associate that. So what we're going to do during the course of today is three things. The first thing we're going to do is to have a look at the summary of what has emerged over the last day and a half. So our role is basically just to observe that summary, to digest it, to contemplate it in order to get a big picture of Rhodes University and where it needs to be in the future. We are then going to use that big picture to identify any gaps, and Noel's going to facilitate a process whereby he's going to extract from you any gaps which you see in this bigger picture, or any connection of dots which haven't yet quite been made. So yes, as we go through the bigger picture, it might be that you don't see the specific word which you like to be seen there, but ultimately the purpose of the summary is to give us a sense of the substance, or actually of the content. And that summary is what is going to be input into the Vice-Chancellor and the leadership of Rhodes University to contemplate, to think about, and to craft the way forward of Rhodes University. Then, the third point today is we're going to hear from our DVC as to the way forward. What is going to happen and how is this going to be taken moving forward? Things we do as facilitators. So, the first thing, let's get the bigger picture, the summary. Then, we're going to consider any gaps that need to be captured on the flip chart. And then we're going to hear about the way forward from our DVC. And before we leave, Luzuko is then going to give us some instructions as to where we need to be and how we need to pose for the final photograph. All happy? Right, let's start. The summary. So what I'm going to do, not going to read it. The way it is that on the left-hand side, you'll see the previous, the historical version, and on the right-hand side you'll see the new proposed version. So maybe at this point in time I can just provide some content input. The one on the right-hand side for me is not a vision. As soon as you take that foremost out, or any of that kind of descriptor, the vision on the right-hand side becomes more of a mission. It doesn't excite me, doesn't inspire me, it's basically a description of what we do. So it's not inspiring. But I'm not going to comment any further as to content. There it is. I'm just going to scroll down and allow you to read it. We're not going to take any comments for input or for any changes. It's really just about getting that big picture, which is going to be presented to the leadership of Rhodes University. We'll look at it later in terms of any gaps. Right. Okay, so Lazuka's just going to scroll down as you read. If it's going too fast, Lazuka, Remi's going to do it. So if it's going too fast or too slow, please just shout. Okay, that doesn't mean we're directionless. It just means that the cable was unplugged. Are we happy with the vision? Okay, moving on. Ola, you're not happy?
Well, we've no people in our vision.
Okay, well, I mean, sorry, can I just clarify, at this point in time, we're not going to open up that debate. Okay, so moving on to mission. Okay, so we can move on. Ola, just as an example, so please make a note of the gaps that you see. And that's going to be picked up at a later stage. So gaps later. Okay, so these are the goals. On the left-hand side, you'll see the current goal. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the new reimagined goal, the new exciting goal that we need to strive to in order to make the vision a reality. Can we all see at the back? Good, thank you. Okay, so these are the goals. We'll get to the objectives once we've completed the goals. Okay, it's going a bit fast, so maybe scroll up a little bit, Remy. Okay, maybe stop. Okay, all good? So in other words, the goals give us some of the targets that we need to achieve on our journey to our vision. So now let's go and have a look at each goal and the objectives and how those new objectives look that have been reimagined for each goal. Okay, ready? So maybe every now and again we can just shout out, move, stop, back. Okay, so a bit too fast, ready?
That one necessary, the last one improved.
Okay, well, Innocent, I think you've got the feedback.
The point of this exercise.
Make a note, Innocent.
Okay, fine.
The power of feedback. Right, so what we have seen is goal one, and remember a goal has a number of strategies or objectives, and yesterday Owen made the point that we mustn't get too caught up with the difference between the strategy and the objective. But essentially what the objective or the strategy does, it gives us a sense of what we need to do in order to achieve the goal. And as we achieve our goals, so we start moving in the direction of the vision. Okay, so we've had a look at goal one, let's have a look at goal two and how we intend going about achieving goal two.
Ready?
Then we are now on goal 3. So again, we should be obtaining this helicopter perspective and asking ourselves, are there any gaps that we need to then just make a note of later? So why am I standing here? Because as soon as we elevate ourselves to the strategic level, we basically look upon the bigger picture. We adopt the helicopter perspective. So as we adopt the helicopter perspective on your input, what are those gaps, what are those further ideas that you now have as a result of looking down and getting a sense of what that image is all about? So now what I'm going to do is hand over to Noel, who's going to capture those additional ideas from you. And I'm going to operate the roving mic.
Thanks, Trevor. So just to remind you that this space has been for us to reimagine the university. And so we recognize that we're in a creative space at the moment, right? We're not yet at a stage of consolidating. We're not yet at a stage of evaluating. That's to happen later, and the DVC will explain that process later on. So you probably look at this and say there's a lot there. Yes, there is, but it's about generating ideas. There's proposed revisions that we are trying to capture. And so as you look at that document, and Rennie, I'm not sure if it's been uploaded, if people can then see this document that you've shared already. Okay, but I wonder if that can be put up now as we then have this next part of the session where people can then come up with other ideas. They can at least view that document. Okay, so the idea is to have a look at what else there is, right? So it looks like there's a lot already. There might be additional ideas now. We want to give you time to just identify those so that we can capture those additional creative ideas of what else could be at an objective level included within the strategic plan. So it's really at that level, recognizing there is going to be this evaluation, recognizing some of these points might then be devolved down to a divisional, to a departmental level, to a faculty level. That's all going to be worked out. If you come up with ideas that are there already, that's okay, right? We will sort that out later to find out where there is some sort of duplication. So the idea is to suspend our evaluation now, to simply say what is there that's not been included that we still need to identify, and to have this creative process to generate additional ideas that you have. If someone says something that's there already, we don't want you to say, but it's there already. I'm just going to write it down and we'll move on, right? We don't want to get into discussion and debate about each of the ideas and their merits. This is a creative, almost a brainstorming process we want to engage in. I will make a couple of keyword notes on the flip chart as we go along, and Ashton will try and take more detailed notes so we've got those ideas captured there. So this is then in addition to what you see here. Is that process clear?
Are we allowed to propose a broadening of something that's already there?
Yes, you can amend what's there. So if there's particular ideas you say that's not quite right, can we reword it like this? Certainly amendments to what is there is fine. New ideas are fine.
It's not the moment to do so now. Can I just say one thing, that the IDP is almost silent on a very important aspect called transformation. And I would like something of that sort.
The IDP is generally silent on an issue called transformation. I would like to see some aspects of it filtering somewhere. Thank you very much.
Do you have specific ideas of what should be contained there, Innocent? Or is it generally the theme of transformation?
It's issues, I think it could come under people, values and culture, somewhere there. It could come under HR or somewhere else. It was under the kinds of goals that are dealt with by HR, but it's now completely out. Yeah, it was on the previous goal.
Thank
but
you.
I think it remains important. There is a whole discussion about higher education transformation that is ongoing, and we should be part of it.
Thank you. Okay, so we got to include something on transformation. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Over here. I wasn't sure whether I maybe missed this, but something about the partnerships between the university and the Makanda community. Was that adequately captured? Goal 7? It's there. Okay.
But it's okay, we'll still put it down.
And then the BE certificate is a very specific thing, but unfortunately it's a specific thing that needs a specific set of actions. So I think that unless we have target to improve our broad-based Black economic empowerment certificate score, it might fall off the radar to great detriment. It seems like such a silly thing, but it's a very important strategic leverage point for a whole lot of other things.
Thank you. Got that? Trevor's going with a mic.
Just to build on Prof. Msindo's input on the absences of transformation, I know that the ITP, for example, that was developed is actually more detailed than the existing ITP, and it also expires at the end of this year. So I'm wondering if, in being explicit on transformation, what sort of strategies there could be around integrating the two plans so they speak very well to each other.
Thank you, Saki. So ITP integration. Go ahead, Hubert.
Thank you. Just on the one for the BBBE, I think if we perhaps reframe it a little bit and we say that we want to focus on the university's contribution to broad-based Black economic empowerment, of which the certificate is a metric, then that connects with the transformational objective also.
Okay. Thank you. So university's contribution.
Thank you. It's me now.
Thank you, Helen.
I also wanted to suggest that we include something on advancing our capacity for inter and transdisciplinary research collaborations in order to better position ourselves for accessing international research funding at a different level.
So I'll put it down as increase interdisciplinary research capacity. Does that? Collaboration. And collaboration. Thank you.
Yes, another one from the PQM group. If we can have something that speaks to increasing our program mix, so it's going to be something we'll talk to. Thank you.
Increase the program qualification mix. Okay. Thank you.
No?
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. In goal 1, we have removed 1.3, which is provide opportunities for students to participate in theorized initiatives falling along the spectrum of community engagement. So that speaks to the number of service learning programs. It also speaks to the number of volunteer programs we run. Can that be retained, please?
So I'm going to put it down as retained service learning programs, right?
1.3, it's broader than that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in goal 2, we've removed 2.4, which is increase access to Rhodes for learners from local schools by providing academic support programs in local schools. That's been deleted, so I would just want to know what about the VC's education initiative to which this speaks.
Okay.
And then
So the number of that objective was?
2.4.
2.4.
And then in goal 1, we've removed the words around the nexus of research, teaching, community engagement. I understand it's because they want to refocus that goal, not to speak to all 3 functions of the university, but just to speak to teaching. But I think it's quite important that we retain this nexus somewhere, because it speaks to how we're trying to work in a more integrated way, and it speaks to the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary work that we do. So if we can go to goal 7 and then just include it there. So goal 7 currently reads to promote Rhodes as an institution for public good. If we can just add to that by integrating community engagement in the teaching and learning and research functions of the university. If we can add that, please, so that we retain that integration, because transformation requires integration.
Right.
And I think we'd be losing that key aspect.
Right, got it, thank you.
Yeah, on this point, I remember the discussion that said remove foremost, and I went along with that, but equally to my colleague here, I felt there must be something aspirational. If it's not to be the best, what is it that we aspire to? And I thought something like impactful or powerful, we really want to have an impact, even if we don't want to be first in a queue of others. So I do recommend that we wordsmith that a bit to put in the aspirational, but it doesn't have to be competitive. It is about what we really want to make an impactful contribution.
Thank you.
On the previous page, where Di spoke about community engagement as a means to teach students certain things, I think we need to add sustainability, because the comment that she was adding to was broader than community. It was for the common good. And so sustainability is also for the common good. I think it's an important addition there. Goal 5, there was something about retention and promotion, but it omitted anything to do with support staff. And I don't think that in many areas, support staff don't have a clear promotion track. So it would be great to be able to work with that. And then goal 5, talking about publications and science impact of science communication or something. And I think that needs to be broadened to maybe talk about policy or other areas of engagement. Not everyone does science, but lots of people do communication that is a public good.
Thank you.
For people, values and culture, I think the words reskill and professionalize can alienate people, and we should reword that. But I'm on the side of Rosa about the support staff, but I think that we should rather educate the support staff to help them understand that the values of excellence also start with the support staff and how that contributes to the academic program. And that might help to fix some of the service delivery problems that were brought through on many of the points. So it's about making them feel valued and how they contribute.
Thanks, Natalie.
On goal 3, the current objectives in your document were deleted. We're not deleting the current objectives. So we've just added some strategies and 1 or 2 new current objectives, but they weren't added in to what the current objectives are. And just to ensure, we'll read in there, that the creative outputs are not forgotten. It's just that we didn't have time to talk about them. As with the others on the list that are parked, such as innovation, that we just didn't get around to the meeting. So they're parked there so we don't forget about them.
Thank you.
Concerning infrastructure, I think we should engender a proactive maintenance plan to avoid problems.
Sorry, a maintenance plan of?
A proactive maintenance plan.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make a point.
You can go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to make a point about the helicopter view of the university. So when people are deciding which university to go to, sometimes they go to our mission, our vision, and our plans. So thinking from the perspective of students choosing a university, parents choosing a university, donors looking at universities across South Africa, seeing who is open to engagement, Even taking cognizance of the rankings, I know we all hate the rankings, they're there. I mean, Tandy pointed out they're here to stay and they're playing a role. Are we really showing our commitment to internationalisation? There is now a formal policy, there's a formal obligation to show your commitment to it. We do a huge amount of it, but I don't think it's totally visible. We've more international aspects and strategies in this proposed plan than we've had before. But for example, in teaching and learning, if we want to promote exchange programs, international collaboration in teaching and learning, and Sipogazi has done a beautiful job on a COIL project recently, which is now a term that is known in the sector and used. But we're not kind of using the terminology that is now used across the whole sector in internationalisation. And I think we might be missing, potentially missing some new opportunities by not making that a little bit more visible. The policy also allows for joint degrees with international universities. We never had a framework that allowed us to do that before. And I know that Sue is engaged in at least two to date. So there's a whole lot of other opportunities, and we're being quite specific in our geography here. You know, we're saying we're open to engaging to the Eastern Cape universities, but I know we have programs with other universities across South Africa. We're working on capacity building for PhD supervision. We also have intra-African mobility programs. So my point is, throughout this, by specifying certain geographies and not others, are we giving the impression we're not open to all these engagements, which we know are happening and are opportunities that we can actually build on? So I don't want to say put in a word to a particular goal, but could we use that lens as we look at the final document we come up with? And it is at no cost to us to put in the word internationalisation, but it signals something that may open a whole range of opportunities to us. Okay, I'll just leave it there.
Thank you. I've captured it as 3 separate points there.
Could I suggest that we do more about infrastructure than just a plan? Are we brave enough to recognize that things are not working there, and that we need perhaps to reimagine the management of our infrastructure division, devise a proper strategy for approaching maintenance, and also build capacity there so that work can be done. And we do more, because there is certainly a problem there.
Thank you. Got it?
Okay, thank you very much. My point is on goal 1. We have suggested that we put the word ethics, because ethics in the goal, because it is the university, our institution, shouldn't be just for production of knowledge, but the ethics should be there, because the ethics goes beyond everything. We have to say that we are doing research, but the research that the institution is producing should be ethically produced. So the ethics will be going even beyond this goal. It is going also hand in hand with research. That's why we would like ethics to be in goal 1 alongside knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick one. In our group, which was infrastructure and digital transformation, we sort of liked digital innovation instead of digital transformation, but that we are subject to correction to that. And I think also, yeah, instead of that was goal 6, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think in spite of the deep complexities around performance management, we cannot just be silent about it. You know, even if it was a matter of investigating appropriate ways to measure performance.
Performance management, thank you.
Thank you. I think we are not strong the strategies have not come out strong on recruitment, particularly targeted recruitment from our feeder schools. There was mention of international student recruitment, but local students are of great essence. So I think that needs to find ways. Yes. Thank you.
So that's to do with recruitment of students, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Coming back to what we were saying earlier, I think it's fair to share the point of where leaders learn. 24 years ago, I made the decision to come to Rhodes University because of what I saw where leaders learn. And I also want to say, if we have something in many of our leaflets or whatsoever, communicate, leaders come to work. Leaders do not litter. Leaders, everything that we do, I think whether it's on the road, whatever signage we have, leaders attend lectures. So let's impress with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Leaders give lectures, right?
Basically.
No, I also feel in terms of the vision, that the vision should be catchy, short and inspirational. And in that regard, George shared some, I thought, interesting thoughts with us yesterday. So the vision, short, catchy, inspirational.
More concise vision.
Yes, please.
Right.
And then, okay, something that we can remember.
Yeah.
Right.
Live by, okay. Then, goal 1, could we add at the end, students who are problem solvers who are socially responsible citizens. So could we add the word citizens at the end, so that links up with the mission, with what we say in our mission statement. And if you're a responsible citizen, the implication is that ethics should be included, but whoever can, the group can then unpack that further.
So problem solvers and socially responsible.
No, just add citizen at the end.
Okay.
Global citizens. Responsible global citizens. Global citizens at the end, no.
Okay, we got that.
And then, no, on point 5, I fully agree with Natalie. I noticed that there was an emphasis on academics, which is fine, but support staff divisions also need to be recognized. Later on, they do refer to all staff in the institution, but that was just something I noted. So I agree with her point on that. And then someone else mentioned about the publications, something was added about publications and the scientificness. What about the issue of impact?
Publication impact.
Yes, maybe that captures a broader version of research. And then in point 7, references made to regional universities. Did they mean provincial? They used the word regional and then it's Eastern Cape. Regional, I thought SADC. And then Eastern Cape appeared, so.
Okay. Regional versus provincial, need to clarify
Yes.
that.
And then I agree with Lawrence in terms of the infrastructure plan. And then I will share the latest version, full sentences, meaningful sentences on goal 5 with Remy, because the version that's on the document was the first draft. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just following on the point of impact, we're pretty ambitious here. And it's quite exciting to see there's more of this and more of this and more of this and more of this and more of this. I'm not sure I know which goal, but somewhere I would like us to have a strategy where we look where are we actually wasting our energy. And think about the things that we do that we actually wouldn't need to do to free up the capacity for the things we actually want to do.
So what do we need to stop doing?
Thank you. In our group, we did mention, or we did get feedback from students about obedient students. I feel in the new goal, the whole issue of obedient students is not coming through strongly. I don't know how to word it. I think we must find a way to include obedient students. The second part is around the residence system. As much as we said we're happy with conducive living and learning spaces, I feel like probably learning, there can be an adjective that explains the type of learning that we are looking for now in terms of technology and innovation. I don't know, I'm just thinking about smart TVs and more technology in the residence system. Those are just my thoughts. Another one, I'm worried about the HR one. I don't remember which goal is that. Support staff doesn't come through nicely. There's a lot of development of academic staff. Thank you.
Thank you. So with the residents, I put it as need to qualify the type of learning spaces. Right, that's how I captured that.
I know. I just wanted to make a comment, and the comment is, I think the briefing was we need to reimagine. And reimagining us is looking at ourselves as an academic institution. And part of our role is we are bringing in students inside and also promoting them outside to be good citizens. I think this is what was said. But as we talk about it, it's more about us looking at ourselves, what things we want to do, how we can do things. But are we looking at, is this vision that we have, looking at their students outside, beyond Rhodes University? My comment comes into the space that when we started presenting in the area, I think the first day, there was element of entrepreneurship that was being brought in, which looks at how do we make sure that we strengthen the student. When they live here, they are actually becoming employers, not standing on the queue where they are waiting for employment. And yet we are bringing in opportunities that we would make sure that we strengthen the academic project. But are we looking at strengthening this academic project to have that leader that is supposed to lead outside be an employer? Because the high rate of unemployment, especially our graduate and our youth, is becoming more and more unbearable. It's an exploding time bomb. So I also, again, I'm looking at a helicopter, that's what I was told. Helicopter view. We've got opportunities. I know the infrastructure, not the infrastructure, but the finance team, they started looking at taking our research and commercializing. That's an opportunity where our students can come up and develop a spin-off companies where they actually become employers for all some of our students that we have here. A second opportunity was the VEE scorecard, where we could look at developing SMEs, and actually that brings in our enterprise development scorecard points to be something that we could actually go and pitch outside and actually make sure that we can procure. The third element is community engagement opportunities. We've got so many of our cooperatives that we actually could bring in at the university and procure, because they are doing a gardening project that we could actually look at and actually say that it actually increases our PE scorecard. That is the story that I probably want to end as a thought process. Thank you.
Thank you. So spin-off companies, enterprise development, co-ops for procurement, some of those as part of the different kinds of students that we look at. Thank you.
Good morning to all. I hope that everyone is doing well. My point speaks particularly to institutional uniqueness. I actually attended a number of the breakaway sessions. And in the breakaway sessions, what I spoke about was ensuring that there is a barrier-free entry to buildings. Like, buildings should be accessible to differently abled people. So as Rhodes University, we need to be very direct in terms of our infrastructure plan. What money do we have? What plans and strategies are put in place to ensure that Rhodes is taking those necessary steps? And what stood out for me was the postgraduate population that we want to increase. So in the event that we want to have, let's say for example, postgrad residents in each hall, how will they contribute to bringing leadership amongst the undergraduate residents. So increasing our postgraduate population will not only be for the sake of research, but we're also going to look at finances going up, our intellect, our epistemological, that word, the knowledge in essence will be growing at Rhodes University. So we also do need to focus on that, and also having that type of senior leadership in the residential space and also in the opulent space, we are able to just grow Rhodes holistically. Thank you.
Okay. So I've captured that as institutional leaders, barrier-free entry to buildings, and then postgraduate contribution to leadership in halls and to knowledge creation, and also in the opulent space. Thank you.
Well, it's not at a helicopter view, but a sort of KPI metric view. An idea that seemed to gain quite a lot of traction was the idea of a student-facing dashboard. I think it fits under goal 1 as if we can get that, it's a metric, a KPI to be aiming for, and I'd take to see it last year.
So especially towards goal 1, right? Thanks, George.
Helicopter view again. Just the last sentence from that page, facilitated. Just bring the page down. The previous one, the very last input.
But students versus citizen, or becoming citizens?
Yes.
And then what
that
about
one can be
students?
combined with the input from Prof. Tani.
Yes.
Yes, and then we can tie it up with the concept of a learning organization. I don't know whether you will include that in the values or where, but if we strive to achieve those, then we need to introduce the concept of a learning organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is stuff around our personal development plans, and what I'd just like to make sure that the focus comes through performance management really should be an output of a strong a strong personal development plan. So where those critical conversations take place, where there are strong development plans in place that look at people's training needs, their gaps, where they want to go. And so instead of focusing our energy on looking at putting a tool or a structure around an output, that we focus our energy by driving personal development plans through our line managers, through our supervisors, engaging our staff so that performance and contribution is a natural output from that. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, just wanted to capture that point. Performance is an output of the personal development plan process.
Mine is more a question, Noel. I'm wondering, all of the work that we've done over the last few days is only going to be realized if we have the students, the recruitment in place. Have we focused enough on innovative recruitment to attract the kind of top students in the sciences, in whichever faculty? Have we thought enough about that?
So innovative ways of doing that, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Mine relates to the point made by Sandile about improving our program's qualifications needs. I think that point might need some qualification. Yesterday, Kamlesh suggested that there is a perception out there that some of our disciplines are diluted. So I suppose that improving our program's qualifications mix might suggest introducing new courses that are relevant, but at the same time I think we should commit to dealing with the perception or with the perceived diluted disciplines. Thank you.
So address the perceptions about dilution of disciplines. Thank you.
Thank you. Just related to go to regarding student recruitment, I agree the integrated approach to student recruitment. There is a plan already in place or being developed for that. It's very good to have all these ideas regarding innovative ways, international recruitment, etc. But we must please keep in mind that capacity is also needed for that to happen. Thank you.
Okay, a lot of capacity needed. Right.
So I'm just wondering if we've thought enough about the opportunities that online teaching and learning offer. So if we're saying that we can't increase the number of students easily because we have kind of physical capacity constraints, but we have a very good brand. Okay? If we're struggling financially, then I'm thinking, okay, maybe something we should be investigating is online, hybrid kind of study programs, particularly at postgrad level. I think there's a huge potential market out there, but it's not going to happen if it's just left to individuals to try and implement, or even to individual departments, right? It's something that it's a highly competitive space. And so if we want to make progress there, I think it's got to be an intentional strategy to develop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Time check now, it is 10 o'clock.
Right. So there's one more idea and then we will hand over to the VC. Want to make a couple of comments?
It's just to follow up on Jen's point and say that as part of the Africa 2063 vision, this idea of increasing e-learning across Africa as a way of increasing access, if we're more explicit, we could also be participating in explicitly helping achieve that goal. So that would help us with our continental engagement further.
Thank you. All right, thank you for those suggestions.
Thank you very much to Noel and to Trevor. I'm just going to offer very brief reflections, and some of these have already come up in the discussion this morning. So this I just noted yesterday evening, or last night before I slept, and I'm quite evident this has been raised as well. I think there are issues pertaining to fundraising and sustainability of the university, and we do need to pay greater attention to that, strengthening our institutional fundraising and advancement efforts. We have not invested as much time as we should have in that regard, and we have not spoken about how we might use our alumni in a manner that enhances their association with their alma mater. We haven't said anything about the role of the Board of Governors and so on, so there is still a lot of work to be done in that regard, and I think we have already spoken about leveraging digital technologies for learning and teaching and for all the other activities. Something that is really important for me, and I mentioned it in the framing document, is the positioning of Rhodes University for greater visibility. This is something that we really need to invest in. Issues pertaining to branding, marketing, and promotion of the university
At the moment, Rhodes University is invisible. We are invisible. We are only in the media if there is something negative about Rhodes University. Issues pertaining to gender-based violence, rape, and so on. So much so that I invariably have to prepare myself if I have to deal with the media, because I know there will be a question about gender-based violence at Rhodes University. So we need to up our game in that regard. There is no thought leadership, no academics whose views on contemporary issues are sought from Rhodes University. And very few, if any, of our academics are called upon to provide expert opinion on topical issues. We are just not there. And so I think we need to build dynamic strategies to raise the university's profile and to position Rhodes University to be a university of choice for students and staff, so that there is a name recognition and a brand awareness of our university and the very proposition of Rhodes University. And of course, these are some things that are critically important. I'm always caught in the middle when some segments of the community say, of the Rhodes University say, well, look, there's just so much happening in the university and it is not reported on. Sure there is. And Constant Advancement will say, but give us something to write about. They can't just make up stories. So we need to bridge that gap so that there is a better flow of information about all the exciting things that happen at the university, and that we actually report them so that there's brand awareness out there, so that people know about Rhodes University, the very proposition of Rhodes University, the quality of Rhodes University, and so on. I think at some stage we become extremely complacent. Our peer institutions are out and visible. We are not. Of course, we debate and discuss the issue of our webpage from time to time. We will do something about that. Already the issues pertaining to student recruitment have been mentioned. Student recruitment, we must recruit students from all social, economic, and class backgrounds, irrespective of financial, of personal or family financial circumstances. Very important. There is a perception that Rhodes University is no longer an institution of choice for certain categories of social and economic class in this country, for certain racial groups. Unfortunately, for some people, perception is a reality. And that is further, or at least the argument goes, that we have more students who are on financial aid or NSFAS, and therefore we have lowered the standards, we are taking more students who should not be coming to Rhodes University, and those that can afford to pay have left the university, have gone to other institutions. On the one hand, we have to deal with the perceptions, but we also have to be quite rigorous and thorough in what we do in ensuring that we attract the best and the brightest to Rhodes University, that we become an institution of choice. We must, of course, deal with the issues of staff retention, recruitment, and so on. I think there's been much discussion. But we also have to deal with the issue pertaining to student recruitment. There is a phenomenon where students who are in good academic standing do not return to Rhodes University. Why is that the case? Because we are losing those students, and that has an impact on the finances of the university. Financial sustainability is also about improving our pass and throughput rates. I think it was Professor Msindo who raised issues about enrollments and so on. We have no luxury of increasing enrollments
without impacting on Makhanda. But there are other things that we can do. If we are to succeed in strengthening our post-grad trajectory and our research orientation, we must create opportunities for students, even at undergraduate level, to participate in research and knowledge creation. Very important point which was made yesterday and made earlier by the Director of Library Services this morning, and I think that is important. If we are to create a pipeline, our entire orientation, even at undergraduate level, towards teaching and learning is really important. Of course, we must improve our research productivity. I'm heartened by the fact that our deliberations have reaffirmed our university's commitment to the scholar-teacher model of teaching and learning. And so academics are expected to show a steadfast devotion to intellectual rigor, to critical reflection, and to the pursuit of innovative scholarly and creative activities. That again feeds into this idea of being a research-intensive university. And I know that there is always an argument that we don't value teaching, and so on and so forth. The fact of the matter is, we value teaching, but it must be rigorous, scholarly, informed, and reflective teaching, where people are able to actually share that in a scholarly manner. Not just the practice of teaching. There are other ways of recognizing that. But I think we have to underline this fact pertaining to our being a research-intensive university. We must become efficient and effective in what we do, and I think that's the point that was made earlier on. And of course, we have already made the point about enhancing student experience. And by the way, I'm quite heartened by a comment which was made by one of our students who went on a benchmarking exercise recently and went to some universities, and she commented that, look, if I had to turn the clock back and choose which university to go to, I would go to Rhodes University. That, I think, is something that we must celebrate, that some of our students really are positive about our institution, and they really are happy that they have come to Rhodes University. And of course, we must build more of that, people, both staff and students, feeling positive about the institution. Issues of maintenance, we must attend to this. We must partner other role players to make Makhanda a vibrant, sustainable, and a livable city. I think at times we are our own worst enemies. We are sometimes very negative without offering any solutions. And I always say, it's better to light a candle than to cast darkness. And that is one of Chinese sayings. You know, Thandi Lewin quoted work done by our academics at Rhodes University, Professor Sue McKenna and Professor Chrissy Bowie, just how special and important that work is. I don't know how many of us have read that work. She also pointed out that we have an absolute gem in Sheffield. I don't know the extent to which we value that. Some of our academics are recognized as world leaders in their fields. In fact, any serious conference on environmental education will always, without fail, invite distinguished Professor Haila Sitka as a keynote speaker. So there are many others who are highly acknowledged and celebrated across the globe. And we sometimes just take these things for granted. We have exceptional academics at Rhodes University. We have exceptional support and administrative staff. And we must acknowledge and celebrate all of them. We have a great university. We have a great university, and we have what it would take to take it even to greater heights. In the end, we will be judged by the extent to which we have been able to contribute in improving the quality of life
and advancing sustainable development. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We are almost at the end of the Lekgotla, but we are definitely not at the end of the planning and the review of our IDP. And you will agree that this 2.5 days, maybe, have generated brilliant ideas, which we have to take forward. But there is a lot of work that still has to be done in giving this strategic plan, or IDP, as we call it, life, give it some flesh, give it meaning, and perhaps give it wheels and wings, so that it can get into motion, or it will do what, Dave? Keep flowing. So what are the next steps? So far we have a vision, we have a mission. Well, we need a little bit some refinement as well, and we have proposed try to pave the aspired future that we need for our university. But on their own, the vision, the mission, even the objectives, as we have thought about them today or proposed, will not get us anywhere. So the objectives, the actions, the activities that we have still need a lot of refinement. You will agree. You know, coming from what we did today, 55 new ideas came before today. This means that we need people to sit down once again and see how this are put into the plan, or how we distill what we have and come up with a more concise, a leaner, strategic, I don't want to call it strategic plan, but it is indeed a strategic plan, a leaner plan, particularly a plan that is going to help us at this high level, so that everything, in fact, everything else might find its way into the operational part or into our implementation plans. I think that is what is going to happen going forward. But we need to do a lot of refinement at this point in time. There are questions that we still have to answer. How will we know whether we are indeed going in the right direction that we are paving, today, or whether we are getting to our aspired promised land that we are setting for ourselves? I'm taking a cue from you that we should not say, how will we know that we have achieved? You said we should not think of achieving the objectives or the goals, because that is a signal of we are done. So we will be going there, and then it means we have to set ourselves some form of metrics. We call them metrics here, or KPIs. So we still have to do that. Dr. Nadozi has just said there are certain things that we have not really worked on. And who will coordinate? That's another question. Who will coordinate and ensure that we are taking Rhodes University, or we are all going in that direction that we have paved today, or for this over this 3 days? We need to find people who are going to coordinate, the overseers as well as the implementers of what we have said. What resources do we need to support our strategy? I think that is another important thing that we still have to fill in the plan. We need to create this enabling, we need enablers to support our plan. Without those, we know that it will just be a plan that will not be realized. So Dr. Nadozi is going to work on a draft plan together with a team, a small team. This time it has to be a small team, just to look at all that we have said over the 3 days and to distill out of that those things that are going to remain in the IDP 2023 onwards. And that team might come from some of the working group chairs as well as leaders rather, and the chairs of the breakaway sessions that we had yesterday. And once we have that draft, then this will be shared with other members, with all other chairs and with all other members in this team, as well as other colleagues, to fill whatever gaps we may identify and to further refine. And that will already become a way of consulting to get buy-in, further buy-in, and to ensure that we all own this plan. The things that will be that team might be looking out for instance, would be alignment. Is there any alignment? Things that we have as our goals, the goals, yes, as our objectives, are they aligned to the goals? Are they aligned to the mission? Are they aligned to the vision as well? That is critical. Could be responsiveness. Are they going to help us respond to those challenges that we identified as we did our analysis of the environment? Are they relevant? Did we take note of the cross-cutting themes that the Vice Chancellor gave in his training document? Transformation, equity, impact, sustainability, and what was the other one? The last one? 4 cross-cutting themes? Somebody? Impact, transformation, sustainability, quality. So we look at all the things that we have brainstormed or we have proposed. Did they take note of all those? And what I think is also key is for us to look at our analysis. We identified some strengths, we identified some weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strategies that we have in place, are they going to assist us in getting ready for future, or at least cushioning ourselves for the threats that exist around us? Are there strategies that will help? What about the opportunities that have been presented to us by this great context? Have we taken cognizance of those? I think that is also important, as well as the strengths. Where are our strengths? Are we going to use those to become much greater roles of the future forward? Then the next thing that we will do with that draft that has been worked on by Dr. Nadusi and his team, and the chairs and the leaders of the working groups having given input, will need to be engaged with the broader university community. And we'll do this through our university structures, so we seek further input, and also to get buy-in. We'd like to have everybody else own this plan if we want to include them in the implementation. So this will go through our committee structures, faculty boards, Senate, as well as council, and we hope that we will have our IDP being approved by council, possibly the last council in December. Well, I think it's fair to say so, let me not say if not earlier. And then we will have a launch of the IDP, the new IDP 2023 onwards. I think it's 2023, 2027, I guess, if my math is good enough, Vice Chancellor. Then, even as we say so, then it will be published. It will be published widely, but what I would like to highlight is that we are already planning for 2023 in a way. So we do not have the luxury of sitting back and waiting for a published document. So what this means is that our managers, all managers, senior managers, we have to find a way in which we start engaging with other people in terms of what we are going to do in 2023 going forward. And perhaps the draft that will be ready to go to council at some point will be the draft that we can start using as leaders in our own areas to engage other staff members, and also to put together implementation plans or operational plans for our various divisions. I think that is also very important. And then at that point, if we have implementation plans, then it will be good to start working. So I think that is what we need to do going forward. But I want to also say, reiterate the fact that I mentioned at the moment, at the beginning, that a lot of information that we have gathered might go into the operational plans. So when people do not see all the things that they suggested in the IDP, they should know that all of that is so good for the operationalization. I think that if we keep our strategic plan or our IDP lean and concise, that will be good for all of us, so that we are able to realize that. I'm not sure whether there are any questions or whether I've left anything. You see, Tanadozi, my two esteemed facilitators. What have I left out? Nothing.
Thank you. So I think it's from one DVC to the next.
Thank you, Noel. It's my privilege to, before we all leave, just say a few thank yous to people who've made this go really smoothly. And I'm going to start off by just noting our thanks to Dr. Tandy Lewin. I know she's not here. She left on Friday night. We did thank you while she was here, but we'll write to her as well, because she did a really good job of kicking us off with some pertinent context to keep in mind as we had discussions. And it'd really be good to let her know how often in the discussions some of the points she made were brought up. So that was a really good choice of context setting that she gave us. And then to thank Trevor and Noel, our facilitators. Absolute pros, what can I say, for keeping us focused and productive through this weekend. It really takes a lot of facilitation skill to have a group this big. We're quite big, I think we're just on 60 people, and to make it possible for everybody's voice to be heard. That really takes a lot of skill, and we really thank you both for that. And of course, while some of us were reading our blood pressure watching rugby or starting the braai, they were aggregating all that stuff from yesterday so they could present it to us today. So they've really been working hard. Then the colleagues in the RPQP area, Institutional Research Planning and Quality Promotion, Remy, of course, Masejo, Ashton, Chimani. These are the people who have been coordinating this process from the beginning and will continue to coordinate it, as you've just heard say from the other DVC. Remy's kind of been our orchestral conductor, and you see he comes in when he's needed all the time, and he'll carry on coming in. And Ashton has been at, I think, absolutely every preparatory meeting and workshop. She's been contributing, taking notes, coordinating, just there all the time. So your role has been absolutely stellar, I think. The reason we have got this area of the university is that their role is to coherently structure scattered ideas. That's kind of what they do for us. And when you go into that office down the passage from mine, it's a kind of calm, serene space, and I'm always quite surprised by that, because when I've encountered planning offices at other universities, I had a recent encounter actually through a review of another university, where the planning office was a panicked kind of mess. And I go into ours and there's these calm, competent, serene people. So really value you colleagues for the research. And then I want to acknowledge Zuko and his team, Zuko for framing the Lekgotla weekend for us, and the Comms and Advancements colleagues for Velasile and Sanala for quite literally doing the heavy lifting with these monstrous cameras that they brought to record all the processing. And that's of course a really, really important part of what we are doing. We're quite a big group, I think, 60 of us, but we're representing the leadership of a community of literally 10,000 people. If you add all our students and our staff and our associates together, there are lots of members of the research, of the university community who are not here, who want to know what we're talking about, who are kind of anxious to know what we're talking about. And so it's a really important strategic role that our comms and advancement people are playing in feeding back to that big community that we are representing about what we're doing. I don't know if Charmaine Avery is in the room. I can't see her. Where are you, Charmaine? Okay, so Charmaine, hold your applause, but you have to applaud Charmaine. She's the woman who never sleeps, as you know. Because we get emails from her at the most bizarre times. And the reason why this has all gone really smoothly and the food's been good and the hotel staff have done what they meant to do is because she's a supreme event organizer. So thank you, Charmaine. And please pass our thanks to all the staff of the hotel who served us well. And I thought it would be okay if I use this opportunity while the leadership of the university is together to just say thank you to our bold and ambitious leader, Professor Sizwe Mabizela, while we are all together, because really the kind of thing that we're doing now doesn't always work that easily if you haven't got the right kind of leadership. And he's a great advocate of collective wisdom and a huge example of valuing the contributions of others, as we've just seen him do. And we don't have any reason to envy anybody else their VC. So thank you so much, Sizwe. And I think this is the kind of reason why we can have a weekend like this when we're working together, strategizing together, and actually having fun rather than being at each other's throats. And then to all of you who gave up your weekend from family time, leisure time, a big thank you. I think your contributions have been immense. We've covered a huge amount of ground. A special shout out to the people who coordinated those breakaway groups yesterday, and the work group leaders who put in literally weeks of work in preparation for this, all the writing, all the consultations that you did. A huge thank you to you, and I just really hope that you are going to go away feeling satisfied about a job well done, because I think all of your contribution does represent a job well done. So thank you so much to you. So I think that's it. Please travel safely as you go. Don't rush away too quickly, because we're going to have a group photo, and maybe Noel or Trevor or Velasile who's going to tell us where we're going to be and what we have to do. Thanks.